Hello and welcome to We're the North Bank podcast. It's sticking in my throat. I wonder what that means. Where we chat all things Arsenal. Joined as usual by Stefan. Hi, Stefan.
Hello.
And Chris. Hi, Chris.
Hi there.
Right, come on. I'm trying to muster some level of enthusiasm here, and no, just no, I can't.
I am spent.
Yeah, it's definitely that sense. We just found out, we've got three different perspectives on yesterday's game. Stefan, as ever, you were there.
Yes.
I watched it on TV, although that's not strictly true. I watched the first half as live on TV, and then I got distracted a little bit, but did have subsequently watched the second half. And Chris, you didn't manage to see it at all.
No.
So you've just had social media's reaction to it, I presume. So Stefan, I think you've got to start positively anyway, because the City Ground, I've always said it's the loudest ground I've been to, which was a surprise, and I've been to all the big ones, but the City Ground Nottingham, it was Stuart Pearce's first game in charge way back when, and the atmosphere was ear-piercing. It was really memorable. What was it like yesterday?
Same. I did one of the cup games a couple of years ago. I think it would have been the first one, and was really impressed with the support then. And yesterday, again, decibel levels, just purely on that, they're up there. Them, Leeds, Palace at times. Actually, beyond that, it's all a bit of a muchness.
I wonder, is that because it's a small, quite a compact stadium as well, and old school,
and this is the thing.
Is it the architecture?
It's the architecture, but it is the culture as well. I don't think it's much of a surprise that Leeds and Nottingham aren't a million miles away from each other. That sort of old industrial north. When you look at other clubs in similar areas in the Premier League, particularly Man United, Liverpool, Man City, they're a different beast. Because
it's funny because Hillsborough was always loud. Hillsborough was loud as well.
Very.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's maybe there's something in that, all right.
I think so, and there is just something in terms of the architecture. Look, I'm probably going to have a moan about Forest fans at one point, but that's just petty football banter stuff. As an away day, and it's interesting, a little chat beforehand, and when it comes to the actual game itself, I would have rather have been in your position, Chris. But but that said, I wouldn't take anything of the day around it. The drive up was great. The atmosphere beforehand was brilliant. Watching Spurs last home game was amazing.
Yeah.
And the general atmosphere was good. And we were supported in the way. The one disappointing thing is the performance, and even that, yes, massively disappointing, and probably raises more questions than answers, but can be contextualized a bit, I suppose. But yeah, absolutely fantastic stadium. So as an away day, and just taking pictures, walking over the bridge of the Trent, it's great. It's on the river. It's got that kind of old square look to it. It's Upton Park. It's Goodison. It's that kind of
Is it?
I don't know. I feel like it should be preserved and bottled and put in a museum, because it's just.
It's right opposite the county ground, isn't it? The other side.
Oh, it's all in the same square. So Notts County opened up their bar, and that was one of the away bars. So they were obviously happy to profit off Forest hosting the Arsenal, and it was rammed in there. Lots of sing-songs. Absolutely brilliant. A bit of a wait at the bar, but you're going to expect that. And yeah, literally just the other side of the river. And then you've got Trent Bridge cricket grounds, like a stone's throw away as well. Nottingham. I mean, I love Nottingham. My wife went to Nottingham. She'll tell me she went to Nottingham Trent, not Nottingham Uni. She'll want me to make sure that that's right, because of the rivalry between them. And so yeah, Nottingham's a great place. Lots of gigs there. It is really, really good. And as an away day, absolutely brilliant. Their fans were loud. So again, reading up on, I follow lots of people on Twitter who are also Arsenal match-going fans, because that's what I want from Twitter, really. And someone there was a bit of a debate going on about how the range of Forest songs is really quite impressive. There was a huge amount of repetition, whereas Arsenal fans, as loud and as brilliant and supportive as we've been, it is the same, like 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 that kind of get sung over and over again. So that was also really impressive. So yeah, that's it. Me done. Don't want to talk about.
Okay, so out of everything you've just said, I think the one thing we should really focus on is Spurs. And can we talk about Can we talk about their awards ceremony in front of about 22 fans and
So
Harry
funny.
Kane's lap of appreciation and
how many people were there for that?
Hardly anybody. I mean, there was a few fans. It was that old joke about the Wimbledon fan turned to the fella next to him and said, "Oi!" That's what was. That's what the stadium was like before the final whistle.
When that Brentford third goal went in, that was it.
Is this in anticipation of Kane leaving? Are you saying?
Was
there a sort of poignant moment of him waving?
Well, he waved. Yeah, he waved. He waved. He did his own, like he was called out, and he walked around, and he was waving. But he was waving in no other way than he would have waved normally. He's probably totally embarrassed, to be honest. I mean, talking about him though, I mean, he scored a fantastic goal. He's got 28 goals for a team who are laughably bad. He's had a brilliant season.
He has had a brilliant season.
And he, as much as I'm loath to throw any praise that direction, he's almost a complete striker. Like he's pretty much got everything in his locker. And I'm desperate for him to stay at Spurs, because the alternative is he's going to go to Manchester United and he will make them better. And dangerously better as our rivals for top 4 next season. I'm not going to say title rivals, but for top 4 next season. I mean, I must look into this actually, whether it's a top 5 next season or a top 4 for Champions League. There is something coming down the line about a 5th Champions League spot for the Premiership, for the Premier League. And my memory says it will be for next season. It will be the top 5 next season. You're nodding, Stefan. Do you know?
Well, yeah, the coefficient thing is changing. I don't know exactly when, but it's helped by the fact, Man City are in the Champions League final, West Ham are in the Europa Conference final. So those clubs in particular, making progression. But I think it even goes back to when, Liverpool, Spurs were in the Champions League final.
Chelsea
that has really sort of helped it. And I don't quite know how they're redrawing the lines, but yeah, there will be a 5th place.
So that's for Newcastle.
Just purely on league position. Well, Newcastle are in there on merit. It's one of them. But Spurs was funny. I didn't. The bits we saw, I didn't see it as a poignant thing with Kane going. It was just a planned, lap of appreciation, last home game.
Yeah.
But it was just the fact the fans were so fed up. They got spanked by Brentford, who were brilliant second half. And they all just left. And those that did remain, it was limp at best. There were quite a few boos. There was even one moment.
Levy out, wasn't there?
Levy out, yeah, lots of that. I love the fact some of the signs said "greed before glory." And that just made me think about what glory means. But also it was just a bit pathetic, really, and not reported well enough. Is Spurs were doing a double header.
Yes, so the women's game, yeah.
The women were playing afterwards, and they've absolutely ballsed that up because, just because of the position of the two states of football at the moment with men's and the women's football, you don't put a women's game on after the men's, because anyone who might have a passing interest, they'll be gone. And I know that's not necessarily right, but I think it's true. I think you're more likely to have that passing interest if people can get in the ground early, get a beer, see that there's a game on, and watch that, beforehand, and have that quick changeover. Let alone the fact, if you are going to have a women's game after, don't have a lap of appreciation in between that's going to take bloody ages. get it on so the fans, aren't
Yeah.
hanging about and there's not that downtime. That just from an organisation point of view, absolutely ridiculous.
I mean, yeah, play it beforehand if you're going to have it on the same
If you're
day.
going to have the double head, I don't mind the double header thing.
Yeah.
You pay for one ticket, you essentially get a game for free. Like, it's fine. I'd be more inclined to see, a women's game before, but in terms of staying after, just yes, it's unlikely.
I wonder how many, because I haven't seen any footage from the women's game. I've no idea. I'm pretty sure they played it in front of an empty stadium.
Oh. But yeah, it's just so funny watching.
So Spursy.
So Spursy. So Spursy.
Right.
We've deflected long enough.
we can laugh at Spurs all we like. And I did like the tweet going around today from a Spurs fan saying, Arsenal can't even match the points tally we got when we finished second in 2016-17. But I didn't see the original
trophy
tweet.
That year.
Yes, no, exactly. I didn't see the original tweet, but I saw every other Arsenal fan retweet it with a picture of us celebrating the FA Cup final win, with that season. It's like, really? I mean, back in your box. I'm not even taking it from a City fan this season because I just throw 115 at them. That's it. It's like, that's it. As far as I'm concerned, we are the champions. But anyway. Okay, look. Team news. Now, I didn't hear any pre-match build-up. I literally just saw the team news and it stopped me in my tracks because I had to try and work things out, which was odd. And I assumed Xhaka was in at left back. And that was it. But Stefan, tell me, what the hell was the starting formation?
Well, here's the thing. So, chatting with the people I sat with at the game, we said it was an interesting one because in some respects, we were quite glad that Arteta did something different. Because I think if I'm going to leave, the disappointing thing for me, and it is a symptom of the fact that we don't have the strength in depth, but I do think the team and the squad could have been utilised differently and better. Saka needs a rest.
Has done for a few games.
Has done for a while. Trossard, having made a great start in a sequence of starts, since he's been coming on and playing bit parts, hasn't quite hit the ground running. Partey, there's all sorts of talk about him, not being fully fit as well. So it was interesting for Arteta to do something different.
Well, it meant so many players out of their favoured position. It was just.
I don't know if it was a huge amount though. The issue was
Partey at right back.
It was a back three. No. When they started the game,
right.
you essentially had a back three of Kivior, Gabriel, and Ben White as a back three. And then you had Jorginho as a definite sort of like holding midfielder just in front. And then you had Partey and Xhaka kind of linking up with Trossard and Saka on either side, with Odegaard and Jesus in the middle. So whether that works out as a three, I don't want to get into. I don't know the numbers of the formation, but Partey was definitely partnering up with Saka, which was fine. Partey could win the ball and feed the ball to him, but he's not then offering an overlapping run or a return. It left basically Saka to he either beats the one man very quickly or he's quickly doubled up on and then just does nothing. And then Trossard on the other side just
nothing came
turned
down.
inside. You just saw the difference. Martinelli running at players, scaring players, just was massively different. What it meant was, which was probably most telling, was it kind of made that Gabriel Jesus kind of have to stay central. And the problem was any ball that played into him, if it was in the air, the Forest centre backs just lapped it up. It was like Brighton all over again. Anything that was played into feet, like it just wouldn't stick. It just wouldn't work. Which was why it was surprising that was left as it was for so long. And yet there'll be some people who look at it and go, well, we bossed possession. And it was one mistake pass that then led to a goal.
A lucky goal as well. Have you seen the goal again?
Oh, no, I can't.
And he hit it against
him. Gabriel tackled it. He got to the ball and he kicked it against the Forest striker's shin and it went over, rebounded over Ramsdale. It was a very fortuitous actual goal. It wasn't even a finish.
Fine, but that general play, like there was never anything. We never showed enough.
83% possession.
Yeah, pretty benign though.
But it was like benign is the word.
Three shots on target.
Impotent possession. It was.
Could I ask you guys what your thoughts are on the team selection insofar as is it a sort of tacit acceptance of okay, it's over, we're going to mix it up a bit here, and does that transmit to the players themselves, or do you think he was genuinely thinking, no, this is our strongest possible outfit? How do you feel?
Can I just say one thing, Stefan? Because there's two players that I feel that's the end for, and that's Tierney and Smith Rowe. I don't understand how Tierney didn't get into that team, and I don't understand how Emil didn't even get on the pitch.
The only thing with Emil is that you hope that it's the fact that he's being groomed for the left 8 potentially.
But then play him from the start. In these two games are dead rubbers. Play him from the start. You know, the guy has. It's funny. He doesn't really have to prove himself. He's already proved himself in his breakout season. He was our second top scorer. He was given the number 10 shirt. Now that doesn't happen to a player without. Okay, how are you going to throw William Gallas at me now?
No, he's got a good agent.
But there was no Arsenal fan that I knew of who was not up for that. We thought, yeah, okay, you've got to prove yourself now. And he did in that season. 10 goals. I can't remember how many assists. But then his injury. But then since January, he's been, what we've heard, he's been fit. But the comments from Arteta have always been quite, shaded surrounding Emil. And I'll be gutted, obviously, if he were ever to leave. But I'm part of me thinking for his own career, it might be. I don't see how he fits in. Vieira keeps getting minutes ahead of him, and Vieira's done nothing to warrant those minutes for months now. The fact that the other players we've been linked with would take his minutes as well. I think his Arsenal time is unfortunately done. I hope not. But yesterday, why not come on with 25 minutes to go? We had no meaningful possession. We had sterile possession. Well, he's one player who can carry the ball, commit opponents, leaves creating space for others, but nothing. And Tierney, I think that's curtains for him. But so I think the team selection was odd. I've heard people rationalise the various decisions that Arteta made, and that made sense. But my instinct is that it was quite a pointed selection. I think it possibly was like, look, we haven't got.
Well, it's a reflection of last season, isn't it? It's a kind of almost mirror when you look at the bench, for example. Yesterday it was Kozia Dubry's, wasn't it? And that just shows you it's not our fault. It's just where we are, and we're
going to get a points total. We're going to get a points total that's only ever been bettered by the Invincibles for Arsenal. So it's just a bit flat because of what's gone before. But anyway, sorry, Stefan, I just wanted to jump in with them too. No.
So in terms of team selection, like, it can be read, those different ways. But I think just from an approach to the game point of view, the move to a back three with White, Gabriel, Kivior felt like a sense of, well, what do we do when Saliba's not there? Or what do we do when Gabriel's not there? Can we go back to this formation that, especially away from home, a back three is seen as more defensive. You can use your wing backs on the counter and whatever. But the problem was it just didn't work. It played into Forest's hands, to be honest. Forest were very organised. They defended the width of the box and they were compact. And they just said, if you want the ball out wide and have it. Don't worry about it. The moment you cross it, the moment you thread a ball, that's when we'll hit you. And they did it every time. On the flip side, I want to talk about motivation later and how that affects sort of players and things like that. But like you say, the rest of it is either it's either a kind of stubbornness from Arteta, which is either a message to the players or to the powers that be to say, we need this investment. Because there is an argument, we don't know what's going on behind the scenes. If behind the scenes, essentially Tierney has said, look, I want to play all the time and I need to play, and that's fine. Actually, there is an argument to not then pick him. Because A, you're protecting your asset, he's not getting injured, and B, you're not denying a player a place who will then contribute to the team.
By the same token, don't play Xhaka and play Emil in his place.
But this, and then there comes the quandary, isn't it? Where does that go? So, and again, consciously or unconsciously, it doesn't really matter. Arteta's going to pick the team. It wasn't so much the team that was the thing. It was more the fact that there wasn't a recognised left back. And it might have been actually more of a result of Zinchenko being out, actually. Because Tierney against Brighton wasn't effective enough.
No, he wasn't. No,
7 touches, 4,
right.
Kind of blitz. So there's an argument that literally based on that one game, okay, we need to do something different against Forest. So there's legislation could be made, but I think it ultimately yesterday just comes down to motivation. I can't tell you, I can't quantify it, but, and this is the annoying thing, I know lots of Arsenal fans are getting angry because until it's mathematically done, you've got to try and win the title. But I'm sorry, that Man City game away, psychologically, that's massive. It's massive. And that's coming off the back of Liverpool, West Ham, Southampton. Is that right? And then into Man City.
And we did beat Chelsea and Newcastle. We did, especially the Newcastle. I'm playing well, deservedly so. But I think the Brighton game just finished us off. Yeah. But I'm just like Man City made 9 changes today, but they wouldn't have made those changes. And I'm just like frustrated at the fixture list that the Brighton and Brentford games away are two of the trickier away games beyond the top 6 or the big 7, if you want, top 7 now. Probably the 2 trickiest away games after the top 7, and they don't count for City. We've had to go there and win both of them, and I can't remember which reason it was. Was it the Queen's death that the Man City? That was the Chelsea game. We should have played Man City away earlier in the season, or the home game. One of the 2 games should have happened when we were on a really good run. I think we just beaten Liverpool at home, and then we were scheduled to play Man City next. And I think that would have been, we didn't meet Man City at our best either time. And I think, but we would have had at the scheduled time. And that, I think it's just kind of quirks just kind of went against us in that sense, because, our last 2 games, away to Forest and home to Wolves, I'm pretty sure that if we were 2 points clear of City, same games played, you wouldn't have seen that performance yesterday, even with that same personnel in the starting 11. So
it should also be noted about Forest's motivation. Win, and they're safe. Yeah. Like, the difference is they had so much more to fight for and to play for. And the striker, Awaniyi, I don't know how to pronounce his name. To be honest, he's not been on my radar at all for Forest. They've had so many different players. He's banging form.
Yeah, he's got 5 goals in like 3 or 4 games.
It's something else. So, they're a team at form. Their home record is actually quite good, for a team.
True with City.
Yeah, exactly.
Beat Liverpool.
Yeah. So it's their away form that has meant that they have left it so late to be safe. But at home, they're a completely different beast. And so the fact that they've got that little extra to motivate them, and we've got that little less to motivate us. Well, in the Premier League, that's a chasm. That's the Grand Canyon in terms of the differences that can be made. So a pass that doesn't find its target can be punished. Albeit slightly fortuitously, and it just I think. Yeah, it was a disappointing performance to put in, and everyone was sort of hopeful that last away game that there'd be something to cheer and celebrate and blah blah. But at the end of the day, I'm not sure that was an easy game ever. So again, you can contextualize it. It's just disappointing. There's a famous quote, and I did look it up earlier, but I've forgotten to save it. Actually, no, it's from the movie adaptation, where it's about film writing. It's really nerdy from my point of view, and they reference this guy McKee, his name is, and he's one of these guys who says that there's the formula that you can follow to write a great screenplay for a film, and he says whatever happens, wow them in the finish, and you'll have a hit. Well, we haven't mastered that yet. It's the endings that are going to leave it, because like we were saying before, actually the destination and the journey is great, but at the moment it will leave a bit of a bitter taste at the end of the season.
But if we have it was Albino tweeted today about that the last time we lost consecutive games was game 36 and 37 last season, and we've done the same this season.
Wow.
And if we react to this disappointment as we reacted to that disappointment, well, we'll have the league done and dusted with 5-6 games to go next year. It's like isn't the worry that we might get a little bit carried away by going, okay, we'll push on title challenge next year, when actually we'll have a different kind of European competition to balance up that will require more first-team players to participate all the time. And expectation has been massively raised. We should have more first-team players as well.
Yes, well, this is the thing. So the pundits will all be talking about, Arsenal won't make blah, blah, blah because everyone else will improve. Well, we'll improve as well. I really hope that we get those 2-3 key players that we probably need in certain positions, and also I think Arteta does need to trust the squad a bit more and manage that rotation. The number of changes that other teams can afford to do. It's that regular rotation. It's not rest. It's not backup. It's just rotation.
Get away from a best 11.
Even a bit more. There are some players like Granit Xhaka, you just play him. I know he might be going and blah, 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 but there's always some players in a squad that can just play. I think Rodri is probably that for Man City.
Yeah.
Like Rodri will just play because he can just play and play and play. Whereas other players do need that in and out. They need those few games sort of rest so they can hit the ground running. Gundogan's end to the season. Kyle Walker's end to the season. Those are players that probably just need a little bit of limelight taken away and then bang, they can hit the ground running. We need to manage that a bit more. Is Saka that kind of player? He's great, but he's faded. I don't know. We've got to do that. And then everyone else will improve. Newcastle will be a little bit better. Something's got to emerge out of the Chelsea bonfire that's happened this year with the players that they've got.
Yeah, the players we've got will improve because they're so young. Our quality players. tie Saliba down, definitely. We will make investment in the summer. That the identity of these investments, these purchases is as yet unknown. I mean, Declan Rice definitely said goodbye today to the West Ham. So he will definitely not be playing for West Ham next season. I'm not saying he'll be definitely playing for us.
There's already people saying, "Oh, look, he's following Arsenal players on his."
Yes, Instagram. I saw that. But he would be an upgrade. But my hope was that that upgrade to the first 11 as such meant that Xhaka would be on the bench. But now that's not going to happen. So I don't just want we
Don't want
need
to tread
to
water.
But once we need to improve our first 11, we need to improve our first 15, our first 16, 17. So and that's what I'll be looking, and that will determine what kind of season we have next season. Is that this is even more than the previous summer's transfer window, which was important to get us to this point, and we've overreached this season, this summer, because yes, those other teams will improve. Liverpool definitely will improve. United will improve. City will remain as consistently, ridiculously, annoyingly, boringly.
They'll win the league.
Corrupt as
I'm saying it now.
they've
They'll win
always
the league
been.
next year.
Chelsea, yes, you'd think with a decent manager and a bit of patience or time, less interference from Bowley and so on, that they will improve. Newcastle will invest in the summer, absolutely. I think the only team that won't improve next season, and it's a low bar this season, is Spurs, which is brilliant. It does depend on the manager they get, I guess, and how much money he has and time he's given and so on. But I look at it as if we've got a more competitive league, then it increases our chances of success in the league, not decreases them, because we need teams to be able to beat Manchester City. Before we lost to Brighton, post Brighton, someone tweeted that, look, and we were all gutted about West Ham game and the Southampton game, but someone tweeted, look, let's assume City are going to win their last 3 games. Well, it wouldn't have mattered if we'd beaten Liverpool, West Ham and Southampton. We'd still have lost the league. That's what we were up against. There was zero room for slip up. And it did come back. It did come down to the head-to-heads. That was so that's important. So the more teams that are out there capable of beating City, the better. I'm just hoping Real Madrid to come in and buy Haaland and De Bruyne. There's all sorts of rumours about De Bruyne and him not being like himself as such, like footballing wise on the pitch, and I can see that. And Gundogan going to, is it PSG or Barcelona? I can't remember, one of those two, and Silva the other one. So you never know. But I mean, of course, that's gone by.
I think what you touched on a second ago, Holly, is really important, is that, yes, everyone else is improving, but I think our potential, the ceiling for the young players particularly. So, yes, we're going to bring in, hopefully, some high-quality players, but, the Sakas and even Odegaard as well, they're all going to take a step up next season. We are going to improve just on those that we have already.
Yeah.
So, we're always cautious and looking over our shoulders, but I really think everyone else is probably thinking, no, Arsenal are in good shape despite our falling away.
Well, look at City's approach to both games against us. Time wasting at the Emirates in the first half, their keeper getting their celebration, and their fans that spoke to me and you, Stefan, on the way back to the car echoed that, reinforced that. They were worried about us.
Yeah.
Genuinely concerned. They saw that game, that beating us at the Emirates, as the decider before it happened, because they knew what they were capable of. But had we beaten them, it would have instilled further doubt into their fan base, but their players as well, because their players were time wasting, and they celebrated that game like they'd won the league, which, as it turns out, they had. And even in the return game more recently, he changed his, as De Bruyne's post-match interview, they changed tactics to suit us, to counter our threat. So that's a team like City playing like they have been playing this season.
And frustratingly, we weren't able to field our best 11 on either of those occasions, which is a bit of
and therein lies the rub, because our best 11, you can't keep playing. We can't keep.
Well, they've
playing
been overplayed.
No,
as you said earlier, that is going to be an issue in rotating and having the courage to rotate, and that's the virtuous circle effect, isn't it? Where you bring people into the fold, the players into the fold, and they don't feel isolated, and you have that rotation that becomes the norm, the culture, and not just, well, that's my shirt, I'm the left winger. No, you're going to rotate, and that's the way it is now at Arsenal.
And that's interesting because when Trossard had his run of games, he was brilliant, and he wasn't used to rotation at Brighton. He was fit. He played.
He was the man.
Because
Yeah,
he was the main man, and so actually, he may not suit or may require that adjustment, or he just may need a run of games to get up to speed and to discover his form. In which case, that's a bit of a problem. But yeah.
Someone more eloquent than me on social media said Saka doesn't need backup; he needs competition.
Yeah, well, you said it a second ago. You know that backup is no good anymore, and bringing in saplings that we hope will turn into good players. We've kind of gone past that now. We're into a new phase now, which is Rice, Caicedo, Premiership proven, hit the ground running, and compete with the others and hold down places. And yeah, it'd be good if Partey was moaning that he wasn't getting a start.
Good, yeah.
Welcome it, Despite his dip in form, he needs the pressure.
And I wonder if Arteta also, we forget that he's quite a novice coach as well, at this level. So, games like the Man City one, where you talked about Man City making that tactical shift, whereas Arteta was, very much, stick to the principles. I remember watching that game and just seeing Saka and Martinelli, hug the touchline.
Yeah,
fine, but we just couldn't keep the ball long enough and get it to them well enough for them to be effective. So it's having that, flexibility to shift things around a bit, even if it's the same team but in a different way or whatever. And that's what Man City have done, because they're all great players and they can all do different things. Saka's he's played at left back, and
he's pretty much
you know what I mean. He's just a great player. So yeah, but like you say, we'll get better, and it's so much.
And he'll have a summer of rest as well, Saka.
Yeah,
he's got 2 England games coming up.
Oh God, he'll have a summer of rest after that.
Qualifiers, honestly, absolutely ridiculous.
They get July off.
Do they get? Is it the whole of July
before they go to the States? I think they've got their.
We're in the States. Yeah.
I think I read somewhere that 5 weeks is the optimum. Complete break for 5 weeks. Mental as much as anything, because these guys are, finely tuned athletes and very professional and so on. So I can't imagine physically they let themselves go too much. It's not the Gaza days of summertime fitness.
Tuesday club
comes back Tuesday, 6 stone overweight. Yeah,
but it's more mental. The constant, the fishbowl nature of the Premier League footballer's life must be just so intense.
Well, all the other things as well. Are you seeing the reports about Real Madrid's game at Valencia today?
No.
So Vinicius Junior was racially abused again, and apparently literally said to the referee that I don't want to play anymore. And it's like, it's just ridiculous. The abuse that he's got in Spain, and I know it happens everywhere, and England sadly has it as well. But I mean, it's just nonsense, the stuff they have to put up with. And the Spanish authorities are even worse than the English authorities at dealing with it. We've slapped an 8-month ban on Ivan Toney for betting offences when football makes its betting bed and lies in it, spooning it, as much as it can for all the money it can get. And whereas other high-profile footballers have received much shorter bans for racially abusing fellow professionals, and you just beggars belief. I mean, talk about needing a break, Jesus.
Yeah, absolutely. I started talking about Jesus or Jesus.
Nice segue.
Very
wasn't it? I have to say it. I messaged you. I've just checked the WhatsApp message. It was the 29th minute. I messaged you. I messaged the group, but it was for you, Stefan, because you're actually at the game. And I said, I have zero confidence that we will score a goal today.
Oh, yeah. No, you could see the pattern of play.
And that's not Jesus' fault, but I'm craving a plan B, a different option, an alternative up front.
Is this where
And
Ivan Toney gets weaved into the conversation?
I'm going to bring him up every single time until he's in an Arsenal shirt.
Yeah.
And again, based on what I saw with my own eyes when Brentford came to the Emirates, first and foremost,
He was
as well as his
wasn't he?
statistics, as well as his numbers, they're great. But seeing him in the flesh, and you realise what a dangerous player, what a high quality player he is, and how versatile he was, and how mobile he was. And you marry that with his numbers, and you've got like, I mean, there's all sorts. So I heard Chelsea are rumoured to be interested in him and so on, and I'm like,
Of course they are.
yeah, well, of course, because
Because we might be.
he's got a heartbeat, and he plays football, so they're bound to be interested in him. So it's but if it's not Ivan Toney, that's fine, because
the profile.
We seem to be getting links with this Lautaro Martinez from, and he's 5'9", and I'm sure he's a really good player. And Sanchez was a really good player. But we've got that already. You know, Jesus is a really good player, and he's 5'9". You know, Martinelli and Saka are really good players, and they're 5'9". I don't know how tall they are.
Nketiah.
Yes, absolutely.
Similar, and he is a backup, whatever way you cut it.
And he will stay there as a backup, and that's fine. I've no issue with that. Balogun will go probably because you know he's of that mindset, which is absolutely fine. We get 30 million quid for him.
You can also command a fee for Balogun because he is
now more than any other time.
Yeah, because he's done well in France, because you know he's a hot property, and Nketiah signing on to a bigger contract means that. You know,
it'd be harder to shift,
Well, or we just couldn't command a fee that would seem appropriate.
I did hear, and this is all sorts of rumour, that David Moyes of West Ham are happy to do a deal with Arsenal regarding Rice, but they have inquired after a potential player swap plus cash as well. Okay. And the three players, and I can only think of two of them now. Two of the three players then were Eddie and Lokonga. And the Lokonga one makes sense because it's at least getting another body in midfield, the position that Rice occupies. So that might make sense. I don't know. Was it Balogun? I think no. I think.
Well, he's out of contract, so it wouldn't
he's
make
gone,
sense.
isn't he? So
he's out of contract. Yeah. He's just a freebie.
Yeah, I can't remember what the point
Holding.
was.
Please.
Don't be mean.
No, you can't say that about Holding.
I've said it before. Holding's a good defender in another team with a different setup. It's like, you know, he doesn't suit our. It's like Tierney, great traditional left back, but not in our setup.
But we're losing the character as well. It's not just about on the pitch. Jack is leaving, and that's a big personality behind the scenes. Holding, I did read ages ago that the reason Holding stayed and Chambers went is because of what Holding brings to the club, his character, his personality, and so you've got to be careful not to lose too much of that.
Well,
now, getting
El
someone
Nenny's
like
another one.
Sorry,
El Nenny's another one.
Yes, but he'll stay. He's there for another year anyway.
He's going to become a coach, I think, isn't he?
Well, he's done his coaching badges, yeah.
What about Cedric to West Ham?
Yeah, possibly.
We've got him.
We've got him for another year. He hasn't. Yeah, I don't know whether Fulham would.
He'll go.
Yeah, no, I think so. Ironically, he could have played the last couple of games for us.
Yeah.
Allowing White to go into centre back, he could have taken over from him at right back when Saliba got injured. But I just want that different profile player, striker. I just think, we're linked with Mount and Rafinha and all great players, and I get that, but and I'm, it's ridiculous that I'd potentially turn my nose up at Rafinha. Stefan, in the summer I was banging that drum loudly.
He's not leaving Barca.
No, of course he's not. But Barcelona might want him to. That's the thing.
Or need him to.
Yes,
financially.
Yes, needs him to. Yes, rather. Yeah. So,
And
but
it's
again, and
interesting go on.
so he would be back up for Saka or competition for Saka, definitely. But again, he's not. I like hearing the names that were linked to, but I really think we need a different.
I agree with you, and I think the centre forward position in particular is you can't go like for like again. And it didn't do City any harm, did it? I mean, they went from virtually no striker to this beast focal point, and everyone after the first few months were like, well, can he maintain it? Can they, it's a bit route one, whatever. But he's more than that, clearly.
What you just said there, Chris. You didn't. I don't know. Sure, you realised what you just said. City went from no striker.
Yeah.
But they had Jesus.
But no, in a traditional sense, and he wasn't
right. Exactly,
kind of
exactly. That's it.
Okay, so there was that rotation and false nine or whatever you want to call it, but they're so good they were just chipping in from all over the place. 15 a year from everyone does the job, as we've done this year, and we've scored a hatful, with no one breaching. What is it? 16 is the highest scorer. I don't know. So it can be done, but having a focal point would be interesting.
There's that, and there's also the XG. Jesus is one of the poorest performing XG players in the Premier League, and that's your number 9. That's your striker. That can't be the case. You can't have that. Well, and that cost us. That cost us. I bang on about the Southampton game in particular. He had like 3 gilt-edged chances in that. Even after we'd equalised 3-3, he should have scored.
But the only defence I would offer him would be in the first. What a revelation he was in those first few months of the season, where
amazing,
the link-up play. He wasn't scoring; he was chipping in, but he was creating so much for us. It was that link.
I love him. I think he's brilliant.
If he carried on doing that, we wouldn't be complaining too much, would we? In the sense that, yes, he's missed a few seasons.
And that's after getting a ligament injury at the World Cup that put him out for months.
Yeah.
So
how much more impressive and dangerous would our squad be if you've got Jesus on the bench sometimes?
Yeah.
Oh, we absolutely need that plan B, and like you say, that rotation in and out, of course.
Yeah. They go, oh, they're playing Jesus today. So it's mixed it up there.
Because he can play across the front 3.
Yep.
So if not Tony, who?
Yeah.
And this is the worry, though.
I don't want that Vlahovic at Juve, because he seems like a mercenary to me.
And if Everton go down, Calvert-Lewin will be up for grabs, but he's too injury prone.
He's out injured. He went off injured again at the weekend, so he's unreliable.
Yeah.
There isn't. Oh, I know.
It's tricky.
Go on.
Harry Kane. On a free.
He was an Arsenal fan.
Yeah. No, he's one of our own.
Yeah. Until you've shown that picture of him wearing an Arsenal shirt, and then they all. Yeah. Well, we'll have to have this conversation, won't we, about ins and outs? In a dedicated pod on this one.
Can I finish with one thing about Forest then?
Please.
Go on, have your little Forest fan rankle.
I don't know if it's just me and I'm getting old and curmudgeonly. The pettiness of football fans. Like, I can sort of understand some of the bottling stuff, given that, years ago we were talking about Gerrard's slip and all that nonsense as well. So, I get it. It was in our hands. We dropped it. Although people are rewriting history a bit, because no one predicted us to be in the top 4, let alone fight for that. Anyway, regardless of that,
we have collapsed a little bit.
Oh, we've collapsed. No one's denying that. It's been a bit of a shit show for a few weeks. Again, Chelsea and Newcastle aside, it doesn't make any sense. But there we go. Forest are fighting relegation. Forest need to win in order to stay up, regardless of who they're playing. I found it quite amazing that their fans, quite a lot of the time, were preoccupied with bantering us off. And I just thought, what? Because I tell you what, I'd like to think I can't talk about how we'd act in a relegation battle because we've never been in one. So there we go. However, let's say we were actually going for the title, because let's face it, realistically, yesterday we weren't really going for the title. Regardless of the maths of it all. Like, I can't imagine us going for the title and spending half of our time bantering off the other team.
It's big club envy. That's all it is.
But I mean, there might be a little bit of, oh, you're going down with the Leicester or something like that. But actually, if you're about to win the title, if your team's about to do something, support the bloody team. I just find it very, very odd. But there we go.
Yeah. Well, like you said earlier, you expect it of Spurs fans to find something that they can take pleasure in our downfall. When
their only thing to hang on this season.
Yeah,
that's the only thing they've got. Serge Aurier, playing for Forest, tweeted out, or whatever it was, something came up on Twitter, but it might have been from his other account, about the fact that, always part of the Spurs family, if we can't win the title, then let's make them lose it after the Forest game. And you're thinking, what are you doing?
Oh, dear God.
Celebrate your team that are paying you staying up.
Yeah.
I just find it really odd. It's really bizarre.
Oh, there is that striker in Belgium. Is it Gift Orban or something, who's quoted this weekend? I never heard of him. As he basically said, I'd love to play for. He's had his breakout season. I don't know, is he 21 or something in the Belgian Pro League, whatever it's called. I'd love to play. Obviously, the destination Premier League is every player's dream destination, and so on. And I'd love, Liverpool, Man United, Man City. He said, but not Arsenal. It's like they don't want to win. They just buy players. They just play players and then sell them. Really? It was really bizarre thing to say. And then, and it's got a lot of traction on social media, and obviously Arsenal fans piling in. But Fabrizio Romano checked in with his agent, or the journalist who quoted him, and it was kind of taken out of context a little bit. He was talking about the Arsenal when he was a kid, and they just kind of missed out a whole section of interview and put that comment with and I thought
journalists wouldn't.
That's
do
a bit
that,
naughty, isn't it? That poor lad's done himself out of a flourishing career at Arsenal now.
Wow.
But yeah, let's. Okay, we've got one more game to go, and
it's got to be a celebration. Just Wolves at home.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I feel that there will be, if the result doesn't go our way, and there's no guarantees because it is just a dead rubber now, there will be a selection of people that will go. But I'm relatively confident that the majority of people will stay regardless. It won't be a Spurs situation.
I hope so. Yeah.
There's so much. There's so, like you say, and we probably glossed over it earlier, and people aren't mentioning this enough. We've overachieved this season in the league.
Hugely.
We've overachieved. And because of our overachievement in the league, we perhaps naively ruled out those cup competitions a bit more than we perhaps should have done. But at the same time, you cannot fault it at the start of the season.
Because had we gone for the cups, gone further in the cups, we may have struggled to finish top four.
You don't know, do you? Yeah, exactly.
Look how we've run out of legs now. Yeah. We might have run out of legs a bit earlier. Look at Man United; they ran out of legs and they've just limped over the line. Well, they will just about limp over the line on the last day of the season.
They'll do it. I was hoping they might drop points at the weekend, but Bournemouth. Bournemouth. That brings me on to who are Bournemouth playing on the last day of the season?
Yeah,
Everton.
Yeah.
And I really want Everton to go down because we were all gallows humour. Everyone was going, I don't really mind losing the Forest as long as Everton go down. But then
Leeds play Spurs at Ellen Road. Now, I'd actually go to that game. Out of all the last games the games on the last day of the season, that's the one I'd want to be at.
Really?
I think the atmosphere there will be
Sam Allardyce
hostile.
Doing a job.
But Spurs are, like in pieces.
I think Leicester will go down because they've got Newcastle tomorrow. I think they'll lose. And then I think they've got relatively tricky opponents on the last game of the season. So I think they'll lose again. But I just think Everton will beat Bournemouth and then it's Leeds and Leicester.
Everton only need a draw, I think.
Is it? Well, there you go. Yeah. So. Or it depends what Leicester do tomorrow. If Leicester pick up
it depends on what Leicester do tomorrow.
Complicates things. I can't see Leicester beating Newcastle.
No.
Stranger things have happened.
Right. Okay. I can't believe we got 55 minutes out of that. I think fair play to us. Well
Mostly
done.
other stuff than the Forest game.
Right. Okay. Thanks a lot as usual. Have a good old week, and we'll catch up for the final post-game podcast
Season roundup.
At some point. Oh, we'll do those as well. But one more game to go. We can muster enough energy for that for one more game post-game.
Talk about Xhaka's wave, the significance.
What does it mean?
Yeah.
All right. Cheerio, guys.
See you later.